B got at us on Twitter, and he says, can Riley Leonard stay healthy? Talent surrounding him and a top 5 defense can make a deep run for the college football playoff with a healthy Riley Leonard for Notre Dame. That is his great unknown for the 2024 season for college football. So I hear what you're saying. A lot of validity to what you're saying. Riley Leonard, as fate would have it, got hurt against against Notre Dame playing for Duke last year. Hurts I believe it was his ankle. It's not totally healthy, and then he goes into the spring with Notre Dame and has to get surgery and doesn't play in the spring game. So you're kind of wondering about how he's going to be when it's time to actually play football games again. Is he himself? That's a fair concern. Now, my concern, actually, I would take it a step further. Can Riley Leonard be the guy to push the ball vertically for you? Is he a good enough passer consistently to maximize what you have in that skill room? Because you look at the wide receivers, man, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is the best wide receiver unit that Marcus Freeman has had since getting the job at Notre Dame. You brought in Chris Mitchell, who was an 1,100-yard receiver at FIU, lit up the spring game. Jaden Harrison was a 14 yards per catch kind of guy at Marshall last year. That's real deal explosive. All right, then you go to the running back room. Jeremiah Love is a dude. You can move him all over the offense. Mike Denbrock, with what he did at LSU last year as the OC, comes back to South Bend, so you feel like the structure's in place for a lot of good things to happen. And I love all that. On paper, I love this squad. But I look at Riley Leonard and what he has been in the past. There's a lot of good. In snapshots, you remember the game against Clemson and how they beat them, and that was awesome. But in that game, Riley Leonard was 51% on his passes. Is good enough to win. Is that going to be good enough to allow you to make a deep college football playoff run? I don't know. Against Notre Dame, fought valiantly, played tough, but like 12 for 27. Is that good enough? Is that good enough to win the ball game for you? I mean, that's, for my money, I don't believe so. That's less than 50%. So I'm looking at Riley Leonard, and as much as I love the physical tools, I can't help but feel a little bit like when we look at what he's been over the course of his career, there's some games where you're just like, hey, where are you at? We need you. We need you in this game, Riley. Now, some of that might be the talent surrounding him. Some of that might be the play caller he's going to have with Mike Denbrock kind of making the difference. But you look at the schedule for Notre Dame, in terms of those what we call on this show circle games, games that you look at the calendar preseason, look at the schedule, and you circle them like, hey, these are the ones to watch. At A&M to start the year, College Game Day will be a movie. Florida State at home, and then you go to USC. That's it for my money. Like, those are the 3 games where I'm like, okay, the roster talent could be comparable. You really make sure you got to bring it on that day. Can't have a slip up anywhere else like Louisville, but still, man, like there's a lot to like about this schedule, a lot to like about this roster. And so if you can push the ball vertically, I think the college football playoff run is very much so attainable because all that talent that we mentioned on Notre Dame's roster, you can't match up with all that every single Saturday. I mean, you can't give the proper attention to those guys the way that you need to win football games if you're playing Notre Dame. It's not going to happen. Also, talk about that defense, which my guy Beat mentioned. If you give them a cushion, they're already going to be good. But if you give them a lead to play with, like, all right, easy money, next. That's going to be kind of the theme, Ariana Grande style. Thank you, next. That's going to be the whole situation for Notre Dame in 2024. If you don't get it done, it'll feel like a gut punch because of a couple of reasons. I just mentioned the roster, so you got the roster to make a run. I truly believe that. But if you don't have the quarterback, it'll be like, dang, we squandered this roster. The field became wider for us at Notre Dame, for everybody in the college football public with 12 teams, and we still missed out and still didn't make good on our potential. It feel a lot like you're not having the key ingredient for your recipe. Like I've told this story before on this show when we first started out. I'll tell it again. Early on in my wife and I's dating relationship, it's Valentine's Day. I'm trying to be romantic. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make some shrimp scampi. Go to the store, get the shrimp, clearly get the noodles, get all the seasoning, and I'm fired up. However, it is very difficult. Nay, it is impossible to make shrimp scampi without butter. That would be the feeling if you're Riley Leonard and Notre Dame. If you don't have the ability to push the ball deep, you're missing the butter for the whole recipe. We'll see what happens there, but Notre Dame, can they make a deep run? Absolutely, pending Riley Leonard staying healthy, of course, but him being able to push the ball vertical, that's the key ingredient. If he can and be consistent with his passes, bada bing, bada boom, we're rolling. If not, then we're without butter, to put it simply. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.